Welcome back to another Bali COVID-19 update. This is April 6, 2022, and my name is Bruce. And let's take a look at the weather first. And the weather, the wind speed is 6.9 kilometers per hour. The temperature is 29.7 degrees Celsius, and the humidity is 64%. And how's the weather been? We had 2 days of sun, and then started to rain again yesterday, and it is very cloudy in the mountains and very nice over the sea. So we're still not out of the rainy season yet, but it's coming, it's coming. There is a lot here today. This is a long one, and I cut out 6 segments that I really wanted to talk about, because I had 5 segments from the other day that I cut out because that was too long. And so these are getting longer and longer, and so there's going to be some changes coming up soon in the way that I'm organizing the channel. Well, I'm not going to go into them in detail right now, but stay tuned over the next week and you'll see some changes, I think. And of course, I got some comments from my wife, Sue, who you know if you watch our cooking videos, and so I'm taking her opinion into account as well. So big news. The main story changed this morning, and usually I put this kind of stuff that happens in the update, but I'm just gonna add this and talk about it now because, well, they're big changes, and they're important, and I think they're gonna have an impact on the amount of tourists that we're going to get into, not just Bali, but all around Indonesia. Before we get to the main stories, let's take a look at the numbers. And how are the numbers? Okay, they're holding steady. They're up a little from yesterday, and they're hovering in this period. So national new cases, 2,282. National recovery, 7,241. And national deaths, 72. So we're below 100 on the national deaths. And the national cases went up some from yesterday. Yesterday it was below 2,000. Today it's above 2,000. But this is the area that we've been in, and so we're pretty steady right there. Now, this is Ramadan, and we've got Muda coming up, and so there's no telling how that's going to impact us. And we have a lot of people coming in, and I think we're going to get a lot more people coming in the coming weeks due to what's going on with the main stories. What about Bali? Bali new cases, 43. Bali recovery, 69, and Bali deaths, 1. So all those numbers are also pretty stable. Bali is in the double digits regularly now, below 100, below 50 usually, and so that's good news. Vaccinations continue to go on. Boosters are being pushed all over the island, and there's an issue about mask wearing, and I'm going to talk more about that tomorrow, because what we're doing up here in Singaraja is completely different from what I'm seeing in some other parts of Bali, based on videos by some of the people that I follow, and if you're a regular here, you know who they are, who have had videos up in the last few days where almost nobody is wearing a mask. And so it's kind of like night and day between Singaraja, Canggu, Ubud, and I'm going to deal with that in the next video. The number of active cases today is down to 85,204. Yesterday it was 90,235. And in one of the segments I talk about it being around 100,000. So the active cases are going down as well. These are all good signs, and this is one of the reasons why these changes are occurring on a national level in terms of who can get in and where they can get in and what happens when they come in. Okay, there's 2 main stories. The one that was going to be the main story is now the third story, even though it says this is the main story. It's not, okay? These 2 are being added in here. And the first one is ports of entry for visa on arrival holders and visa exemption arrangement facility holders has been extended, expanded, added to. There are more places now where you can get the VOA, and I know some of you have been waiting for this. And this is official. This came out yesterday. You can go to the immigration website and you can find the documents here, and I'm gonna put these little screenshots of one of the easy documents that immigration put up today online so that you can see exactly what's happening here. There are 3 different types of ports of entry. 1, airports, the 2nd, seaports, and the 3rd, cross-border inspection post. And I'm just going to talk about the airports, but you can take a look at these if you're going to come in by sea and find out what those are. Airports, so you can now fly into Jakarta and get visa on arrival, and of course Bali, and Kuala Namu in North Sumatra, Juanda in East Java, that's Surabaya, Hasanuddin in South Sulawesi, that's Makassar, Samratulangi in North Sumatra, that's Manado, and Yogyakarta. Now some of these airports are not ready for international flights yet, but once they are, you'll be able to come in and get the visa on arrival, just like the visa on arrival in Bali. It will be good for 30 days. You can extend it once for another 30 days. You do have to go to immigration to do that. You cannot do it at the airport at this point. Cost is 500,000 rupees. So it's a change. They've added in a bunch of new places that you can come and get the VoA. Great news. I think this is really going to increase the amount of people coming. Next change, according to this new circular, the new SE, list of countries. There's been one more country added, and that's Timor-Leste, sometimes called East Timor, and it is now listed as a place that is allowed to get visa on arrivals when you get into Indonesia. Good news for people from Timor-Leste. There was a segment in the last video where there was a call to open up the free visas for people from ASEAN countries, and that has happened. So list of countries and special entities for a visa exemption arrangement facility. That's how it's called in the document. What are those countries? Brunei, Philippines, Cambodia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. 9 countries. And so those 9 countries can come in. They can get a free visa on arrival. Only good for 30 days, and it cannot be extended. More good news. Get some of our neighbors coming in here. Okay, things are looking up. Okay, so that is the main story, and that is big news. So people can come in and they can get into Jakarta, and they don't need to do a B211. They can have visa on arrival and in other places as well. And so good news, and same for ASEAN. And welcome Timor-Leste into the number of countries that can get visa on arrival. And this next story, this was on the press on Monday, so it is dated on Monday. Things have changed quickly. There is no SE on this yet, waiting for the SE, and it is an important one because it's another thing that people have complained about. You know, people complain about a lot of stuff. I don't know why, but they do. Well, I complain about stuff too. And what is that? That is the PCR test that you get when you come here. And so the government will remove the COVID-19 entry test requirements for people from overseas. So according to Pak Hartarto, who is the coordinator for the Enforcement of Community Activities Restrictions, PPKM, outside Java and Bali, he said that the government will abolish the mandatory COVID-19 test for foreign travelers who have arrived in Indonesia by land, air, or sea. You will have to be fully vaccinated. You will have to have the PCR test taken 2 times 24 or 48 hours before departure to Indonesia. That is all you need. You show them the negative test and you're good to go. You will not have to be tested at the airport. Now, in the next story that's coming up, that was originally going to be the main story, Pak Luhut said they were going to make changes to speed up things at the airports as more airports are being added on. And so this is one of the things that will speed up the process. You won't have to get the PCR test. And so good news. And if you don't like people sticking stuff up your nose, that's even better news. However, you will have to go through a health screening process by checking the body temperature. If the body temperature is above 37.5 degrees, you will have to take the PCR test at the airport. So if you've got a fever, don't come. This is not official yet. Waiting for the SE to come out. When will it come out? It could come out today, it could come out tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see what happens tomorrow. So Big news, a lot of changes, a lot of things to make it a lot easier to come into Indonesia. Okay, let's get on to the next story. And on to the main story. And as I said at the start of this video, I don't jump the gun, but this is already out. I woke up this morning, found this, and it is all over social media. And people are misinterpreting this again, as usual. Some people are actually reading what is being said, and some people just go with the headlines. And so this is something that has been suggested and is hopefully going to happen, but it has not happened yet as of Tuesday at noon. Who knows? There may be a circular out by the time I get ready to post this video tomorrow. Luhut, Indonesia to further ease international travel restrictions. So according to Pak Luhut on his Monday night press conference, he said the Indonesian government is planning to relax travel restrictions such as the entry test policy for foreign travelers visiting the country and to increase the number of incoming flights without causing a buildup at airports. And as always, he said, and this is the important part of this, the details regarding this will be stated in the task force circular letter, which will be issued soon. It's not out yet. The circular letter, also known as an SE, has to be out before any of this is official. But this is good news. Getting rid of the entry test policy, and by the entry test policy, I'm thinking that they mean having to be tested. I don't see them changing the fully vaxxed rule here, but I can see them getting rid of the need for a PCR test, because that's happening in other countries around the world and here in Southeast Asia as well. Pak Luhut said that the government is going to open a number of international airports: Yogyakarta, Medan, Makassar, Pekanbaru. However, he stopped short of explaining the details. Yes, no details yet. Additionally, he said the visa policy will be relaxed to close to the rules before the pandemic. And I was talking about this before. I've mentioned this a number of times. There's some stuff about visas that is going to come out in the next few weeks, according to what the government said last month, a few months ago. And so we're just waiting to see what that's going to be. Is it going to be good news? I hope so. And why are they doing this? Well, because the government... Why are they doing this? Well, according to the article, because of increased spending in all regions. I'm not exactly sure how that works to that. Pak Luhut said even Bali and Nusa Tenggara reached their highest spending levels since the pandemic. Other conditions are a significant increase in public mobility, the positive growth of industrial activity for 7 consecutive months, and Indonesia's pre-pandemic levels or normalcy index issued by The Economist magazine, which is stated at 68 points out of 100. Okay, and so anytime there could be some changes that is going to make it easier for people to come in. And so what have we got? We've got the visa on arrival now and no quarantine, and you can stay where you want to. They've expanded the number of countries for VoA, and so things are getting easier and easier, and this is going to make it even easier. And that's good news. Has it happened yet? No. When the circular comes out that makes it official, I will have a video on it. The next few segments are based on the main story, because what happens, you have to look at this as a whole. There are a lot of developments working together in order to make tourism rebound in Indonesia, just not in Bali, but throughout the country. And so, next story, Indonesia ready for transition to COVID-19. Endemic health minister. Okay, now I've been talking about the move from going from pandemic to endemic over the last few videos, and here is some more. This is from the health minister, Pak Budi. He said one of the signs is the declining trend of positive cases, which is supported by the rising public awareness of health that the pandemic situation is the responsibility of all elements. He said, as long as the people are more aware of what to do to deal with this pandemic, it will show that we are ready for the transition from pandemic to endemic. And he said this in a press statement quoted from the Presidential Secretariat YouTube channel on Monday. So Mondays are usually a busy night for the government to make announcements. And so all this stuff works together. He also confirmed that Omicron BA.2 is here in Indonesia, and Omicron BA.2 has been responsible for a surge in positive cases in a number of countries. However, he said there's no hike in cases here, so we have it, but we haven't seen a spike. In fact, the numbers keep going down and down and down, as I've been talking about in, the last 5 or 6 videos, and this is really good news, of course. Pak Budi said the government is confident in easing COVID-19 restrictions during the Islamic holy month of Ramadan, and I've talked about those before, and so I'm not going to go into that again. And so it's going to be interesting to see how the government goes from this transition to pandemic to endemic, because if you remember from some other videos where I was talking about this, they were talking about the need for these changes to occur over a 6-month period. So I don't know if they're looking back, they're going back to when our cases spiked and we're looking at 6 months there, or are they going to jump the gun and say, okay, we've got it? Because in a segment coming up, it's claimed that we've got this under control. And some more from Pak Budi. Booster policy for homecoming exodus, a precautionary measure. So he said that the government's policy of needing booster vaccination for doing mudik is a precautionary measure. He said the government remains cautious. We are still allowed to perform Ramadan worship activities and join the exodus, but we must do the complete booster vaccination. And the details of the travel policy are in another segment here. And so what does this very short segment mean? It means Pak Budi is saying, look, there's a reason why we have these requirements that you have to have your booster in order to travel freely without getting tested, and that's because we're being cautious, and this is just a precautionary measure. You can go to the segment where I talk about the details of domestic travel if you want to find out more about this. And here is another segment, and this is supporting the idea of loosening things up here in terms of tourists coming in. Indonesia's COVID-19 daily cases dropped by 97%, BOR, bed occupancy rate, 6%, Pak Luhut. So these figures are since the peak of the Omicron transmission a few months ago, according to Pak Luhut, who is the coordinator for the enforcement of public mobility restrictions, PPKM, along with the deputy for COVID-19 handling task force as well. He's got a lot of hats here. He said in less than 3 months we've dropped 97%. Additionally, Pak Luhut said that the number of active cases has decreased 83% from the peak, and currently active cases in Indonesia are below 100,000. That's still a lot of active cases. Additionally, hospital bed occupancy rate, the BOR, is now only 6%, and that's a drop of 85% since the peak. And Pak Luhut said the current positivity rate is below the WHO standard. It is at 4%. Standard is 5%. The number of people who died due to the disease also dropped sharply to 88% compared to the peak, Pak Luhut said. Based on all these indicators, Pak Luhut said the government has said that the transmission of the COVID-19 Omicron variant in Indonesia is under control. And so that's where we are right now as of Tuesday. And by the time I upload this tomorrow, sometime around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we'll see what happens. And this is a follow-up to a couple of stories that I've already done about plans for Idul Fitri rules, regulations, and new travel regulations that came out the other day that I talked about in SE 16. Actually, I didn't talk about them. There was just something in the description, so I'll talk about them now. Government issues details on Eid's restrictions for Idul Fitri celebrations. The government's published a set of circulars detailing the eased health protocols and travel requirements for this year's Idul Fitri prayers and the annual tradition of mudik. One document signed by the Religious Affairs Minister was made public last week, and mosques in areas with public activity restrictions at PPKM 1 or 2 are now allowed to hold mass prayers at full and 75% capacity. So full if you're at level 1, 75% capacity if you're at level 2, which is what we are here in Bali at this point. The circular also requires mosques to implement health protocols, including mask wearing, requiring worshipers to bring their own prayer mats, and physical distancing. Is that going to happen? And of course, as I've talked about a number of times already, Mudik is allowed to happen this year, and the Transportation Ministry is expecting 79 million people. I said 79 in the last video. It's 79 million people. And according to another circular by COVID-19 Task Force and National Disaster Mitigation Agency, BNPB, this took effect on Saturday. Homebound travelers who have received a booster shot are not required to present a COVID-19 test in order to go on Mudik. However, those who've received only 2 doses will be required to produce a negative antigen test taken 1 day before their trip. Travelers who've only had 1 will be required to show a negative PCR test taken a maximum of 3 days before their trip. The task force further requires travelers who have not been able to get vaccinated because of medical reasons to present a letter from a doctor from a state hospital, not just your local GP. And in addition, they need to provide a negative PCR test. Children under 6 years old are exempt from vaccination requirements, but they need to be with a fully vaccinated adult. And as of Sunday, a couple of days ago, 76.8% of the 208 million targeted population nationwide have been fully vaccinated, and around 94% have received at least the first dose. However, only 11.3% have received a booster shot since this rollout started in January. Under the new guidelines, regional COVID-19 task forces are to work with public order agencies, Satpol PP, as well as military and police to set up checkpoints to screen for travel requirements for homebound travelers using private transportation. For those people using public transportation, they will be checked at integrated checkpoints at departure locations. And the government is going to have vaccination hubs at departure points to accommodate people who want to get their booster or their primary doses on the spot. That's convenient. Tri Yunis Miko Wahyono, an epidemiologist from the University of Illinois, said that while Indonesia's vaccination coverage has warranted the easing of Mudik restrictions this year, the government needs to improve its testing and tracing efforts. He said based on the regulation, the government cannot just rely on testing and tracing efforts on people who are getting tested to go on Mudik. Well, we'll see what's going to happen. This is only the 4th day of Ramadan. One of the problems that's been occurring over the past 10 years or so, not just limited to the COVID-19 period, is housing for young people. And in Korea, it's a massive problem, and it's a problem everywhere else. I was talking to friends in Perth. They were telling me how expensive it is for young people trying to buy a house these days. In the US the same way, and Indonesia is no different. SOEs minister hints future affordable housing for millennials. So state-owned enterprises minister Eric Thohir went on Instagram on this Monday to announce ministry's plans to provide millennial generation with housing that are easily accessible in terms of transportation and price. He argues that this type of housing will help accelerate and even out economic growth. Thohir cited data that shows that 31% of Indonesian millennials have yet to own a home. Wow, that seems pretty low to me. 31%, I would guess that it would be more, but I don't have any data, and he does. So they're yet to own a home, even though this generation is considered to become the country's economic support through the existence of a demographic bonus. He's encouraging collaboration of the State Savings Bank, BTN, with other SOEs to solve the housing crisis for millennials, and he encourages the synergy of BTN, Perumnas, KAI, BUMN, Karya, and even PLN and Telecom. Wow. In order to provide a one-stop solution to Generation Z in order to get convenience not only for housing but also for doing work. He said housing is a problem throughout the world, including Indonesia, with a population of more than 273 million people. And he said for this reason, it's necessary to find a one-stop solution so that housing needs can be met not only for millennials, but also for Generation Z. If this happens, this will be a great thing because housing is, as I said, a problem everywhere, and especially here in Bali with prices of land and housing going up and up, especially as we get foreigners in here with money and people from other islands with money. The price of housing is just becoming unaffordable. So we'll follow this story and see what happens. And it's been a while since we talked about Thailand. What about Thailand? Chiang Mai, Pattaya want drinking hours extended. Oh, I'm all for that. Restaurants in Pattaya and Chiang Mai want selling hours for alcohol extended till midnight or 1 a.m. during Songkran holiday period to shore up their flagging businesses. Despite Songkran being a long holiday, hotel bookings in Pattaya remain relatively low, with most tourists making reservations for one night only on April 13th, according to a spokesperson. Extending alcohol consumption hours at restaurants beyond 11 p.m. would help bring in more income and spur tourism, according to her. We want authorities to extend the hours until 1 a.m. like they did for the New Year countdown. It will give these businesses a lifeline during the holiday period, especially since Pattaya will see fewer tourists due to the absence of these ceremonies there. In Chiang Mai, marketing manager of Maya Lifestyle and Shopping Center said extending alcohol consumption hours would help boost economic activity during the Songkran holiday. From April 1st, alcohol consumption is now allowed until 11 p.m. in all restaurants in the Chiang Mai province that meet SHA Plus and COVID-free setting standards. The restrictions were eased after the province was reclassified as a blue zone promoted for tourism. Previously, alcohol drinks could only be served from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. at restaurants in 5 districts in Chiang Mai, which were designated as blue zones. And I'm wondering, how long are businesses staying open here? How long are bars, restaurants staying open? Is there a limit anymore? You know, there used to be these announcements every week about how long you could be open and how many people. I'm guessing that stuff is not followed through with anymore, if there are even restrictions. I've kind of lost track of that whole thing. I guess I will get to see personally in another few weeks. But if you're in one of the tourism areas and you frequently go out to restaurants or bars, are there limits on the number of people that can be there? And what is the closing time? Is there a limit to closing time? Is it 9 p.m., 10 p.m.? Leave a comment below. Thanks. And some good news, some really good news that I've been waiting for a long time. Limited PTM starts today. Task Force affirms strictly implementing Prokes. What does that mean? It means schools in Buleleng are open for, well, kind of full days. So what is PTM? PTM is face-to-face learning, and limited face-to-face learning is here, and it's kind of spread out. Some schools are open 100%. My granddaughter's school is open about 75%. So following up on the circular letter of the Governor of Bali 512 Satgas COVID-19 3-2022 dated March 23rd, on the basis of evaluating the development of COVID-19 cases in Buleleng, which continue to slope, education units throughout Buleleng Regency can again carry on limited face-to-face PTM learning starting Monday, 2 days ago. The coordinator for the data and information sector of the Buleleng COVID-19 Handling Task Force, Ketut Swarmawan, who I've talked about many times, said that all education units in Buleleng Regency can start and have started limited PTM from elementary school all the way through high school and vocational school. According to him, from reports he's received, there were several schools that are doing 100%. Based on previous limited PTM experience, in order to prevent the reoccurrence of the COVID-19 cluster in education units, Pak Swarmawan invited all education units to strictly implement health protocols, both for educators and students. And in addition, through limited PTM opportunities, Pakswarmawan again invited the entire community to immediately carry out booster vaccinations to further increase immunity and immunity against the spread of COVID-19. And so good news, Zoe is back in school from 7 o'clock to 11:30, and I am so happy. This is another good news video, as I said at the start of the video. Police strictly supervise Sanur Beach. In the midst of the slowing down of the spread of COVID-19, South Denpasar Police, Densel, continue to monitor health protocols. And where are they focusing efforts? On Sunrise Beach and Sanur Beach. Those are the most visited by Denpasar people, according to this article. In addition to preventing the spread of COVID-19, we hope that visitors and passengers will feel safe and comfortable in the beach area, said a spokesperson. According to him, these activities are routinely carried out to improve discipline and public awareness in the implementation of healthcare programs. He said, I always convey to the ranks of personnel to continue to go out in the field and never get bored, conveying the discipline of Prokes to the community in a humanistic manner. Here's something I didn't know, and it means I haven't been around Bali very much since the pandemic started. Sanur Harbor arrangement at Sunrise. Sanur is still speeding up. The construction of the Sanur port at Sunrise, Sanur, South Denpasar continues to be accelerated. The construction of the port started in December 2020, and it's expected to be completed this May, just in time to coincide with Lebaran, so that during the holiday period, people can take advantage of port facilities for vacations and worship for the surrounding community. And they can go to Nusa Penida or Nusa Lembongan. I didn't even know there was a port being built there, and I didn't know there was a beach called Sunrise Beach. All this stuff must have happened since, I don't know, since I stopped wandering around in that area. When I'm down in Sanur in another 3 weeks, I'll check it out and see what it looks like. And some local news about Buleleng. You know I like local news. Governor Koster praises PAS Regent's performance in building RTH Bung Karno. So the Governor Koster recently gave his appreciation and praise to the region of Buleleng, Putu Agus Suryadnana, who's called PAS very often, much easier to pronounce. And, well, why is he appreciated? For his good performance in being able to complete the construction of Bung Karno Park Green Open Space. Green Open Space is RTH in Indonesian. And the existence of this green open space is considered no less good than the Arts Center in Denpasar. Okay. And all this was revealed during the launching event the other day on the 30th. Governor Koster felt pride and amazed to see various public facilities in various buildings that have deep historical value about Bung Karno and his mother. And if you don't know anything about Indonesian history, President Sukarno was the first Indonesian president, and his mother is from here. He had a Balinese mom, and she is from Buleleng, and so people still take a lot of pride in that. My father-in-law had a picture of Bung Karno hanging up in the house when he was alive, and well, my son's middle name, one of his middle names, is Sukarno. And the governor said, I'm ready to support the sustainability of development of Bung Karno's green open space to make it even better, especially the expansion of seats on the stage of the Lion Monument. And I have to get there soon and do a little filming so you can actually see what this is like. You know, a lot of the travel videos, which I'm a big fan of, because as you know, this is not really a tourist channel. It's more kind of well, as I said before, it started out as a family channel and morphed into something else. It's really just an old anthropologist who's interested in everything. And additionally, the governor emphasized that the infrastructure development program for Buleleng Regency would be completed as soon as possible, whether it's from the construction of shortcut lines, that's shortcuts from here to the populated areas of Bali, digital TV towers, I didn't know we had that going on the construction of the North Bali Airport. Oh, not this again, the North Bali Airport. And according to this, the construction of North Bali Airport has been determined in the Gorogak area. But to support it, we will build the access first. We will complete the construction of the Mengwi-Gili Manuk toll road, and after that we will start the airport construction, the governor said. Now I'm confused. I thought they had decided again to put it back over here in Kubotambahan area, and now it's back in Grogak. You know, I've done a number of reports on the airport over the last couple of years, and it's moved several times back and forth from here to there to here to there. Okay, so now it's in the Grogak area. And the regent expressed his appreciation for the remarks of the governor and for his full support in various developments in Buleleng. Well, it is raining. Everybody that has been here, that lives here, knows that trash is a problem in Bali. Well, here's an article about something that's being done up here in Buleleng, fighting plastic waste. Sangsit village creates Gerbangsih garbage bank. According to this article, the segregation of household waste is one of the government's special concerns in reducing plastic waste. Okay, first I've heard about it here, as is the case in Sangsit village, which now has a strategy on how to combat plastic waste. Okay, Sangsit is just down the road that way. The head of Sangsit village, Putu Arya Suyasa, when met at the waste sorting location, said that sorting household waste, the village government made a waste bank through Clean Sangsit movement, Gerbangsih. That's what Gerbangsih means, Clean Sangsit movement, in collaboration with the main waste bank, BSI of Buleleng Regency. I didn't even know we had one. Obviously, it does not operate in my kampung. Furthermore, Pak Suyasa said that the program that has been made now has been running 1 month by making a strategy in which village officials and leaders and administrators carry 1 kilo of plastic waste every time they take their salary. In addition, people who receive assistance, including BLT, PKH, and other assistance, as well as people seeking administrative help for everything except for health and education, are required to bring in plastic waste. Pak Suyasa said health and education are very important for public health. For that, we don't need to provide them with the requirements to carry plastic waste. Pak Suyasa said that the level of public awareness in Sangsit village for those who are participating is very good, and people have waste picked up at home by paying a fee of 15,000 rupees. And that has reached more than 1,000 people in Sangsit, or 40%. He said, we make a Clean Friday program every morning in rotation in each hamlet. We're grateful that the community now takes the initiative to do mutual cooperation. And so there's a program going on in Sangsit. Sounds good to get plastic waste out, and I wish we had one here. Maybe this program can serve as a model for other places in Buleleng. And here's an interesting case about a foreigner who was sentenced to 14 months in prison. WNA Uzbekistan gets 14 months in prison. So the person in jail was originally sentenced to 2 years. It was reduced to 14 months. And in the trial, the Council of Judges stated that he was proven legally and convincingly to commit theft as in Article 362 of the Criminal Code. The judge stated that his sentence was reduced to the length of time he was in custody. The context is that the person who reported it never made a financial report. And this is why the documents were taken. This is why the documents were taken by Dilsad, the person in jail, for an audit purpose. So what is this company and what specifically is happening? The case began when Dilsad Alamov, who founded PT Peak Solutions Indonesia, which is engaged in consulting, visas, KITAS, accounting, BPJS, taxes, and passports for foreigners who come to Bali. He founded this, but because he's a foreigner, he had to take an Indonesian partner, and so he took an Indonesian partner, citizen, who is referred to here as F. They're not going to mention his name. That person, F, became a director, while Dilsad acted as commissioner of the company. After several years, around September 2021, there was a disagreement between the two people. Dilsad suspected suspicious financial transactions over a 1-year period from September 2020 to September 2021. And so he asked F for accountability of financial reports that he should provide as director of the company. However, they were not provided, and so he went into the office and took a bunch of documents that he needed to use to get audited. The Indonesian partner then reported him to the police for theft, and he was found guilty and sentenced to jail. Well, we'll have to see how this one turns out. We don't know at this point. He's still considering whether or not he's going to make an appeal. But this shows some of the pitfalls in getting involved in business here. You have to be careful, know what you're doing, and know who your partners are. And even then, look at marriages, for example. And here's some more local news, and this is this is interesting, and I'm laughing because it's become an issue, but it's been going on here forever. As long as I've been here, 32 years. Pol PP Buleleng ultimatum, traders on the road to enter the market. Okay, so the Buleleng Civil Service Police have given an ultimatum to market vendors, market traders, that they need to stop selling on the streets, on the sidewalks, and get back in the market. Where are they doing this? Just about every market. There are 3 markets here within walking distance of my house, and everybody is out in the street selling, and they have been since I've been here. But it's becoming an issue now. I don't know. If you're in Singaraja and you want to take a look, go down to Pasar Anyar, over to Jalan Sawo, Jalan Durian, and you'll see everybody out there selling. And, well, personally for me, I prefer it outdoors. It's cleaner, and it's not as cramped, not as smelly, not as dirty. And, well, during the COVID period, you can actually have a little bit of space. But apparently it's not very popular with the powers that be in Buleleng. The head of Buleleng Civil Service Police, Igede Arya Swardana, said that his party had approached street vendors and they are trying to educate them on how to sell in the correct place. Okay, they know where they're supposed to sell, they just want to sell on the street. According to him, the PP's given a warning to the traders and where they were asked to immediately find another location. Go and sell in their stalls in the marketplace, you know, the new big market here, which I still have not gone to. And those people that haven't, stern action will be taken against them. I want to see what that's going to be. He said, we're trying to remain humane because we're aware that they've been affected by COVID. Of course, there are economic constraints, but if it continues to be ignored, there will be firm steps taken. Arya further emphasized that his party has tried to educate many times. At the same time, he urges traders to return to the market. But for some reason, he said, the appeal appears to be ignored. They like being outside too. It's hot inside. Okay, wrap up and update. No update, as I said, it's already been taken care of. What's the wrap up? Really quick wrap up. Big changes have been made and are coming. The big story for me is school is back running in Buleleng. My granddaughter is in school 75% of the time. Some of the schools in Buleleng are open 100% of the time. I am overjoyed. And so good news video, good news. And there are going to be some changes. And I said I'm going to talk about those later, not in this video, but check in tomorrow and see what happens. Maybe they'll give you a hint at what the changes are, and I will explain them more in detail later. Unlike the Indonesian government, an official announcement will come out later. If you found this video helpful, useful, informative, amusing, humorous, non-irritating, please give it a thumbs up. The more thumbs up you get, apparently the more likes you get, the more your video is pushed by YouTube, from what the YouTube guru that I follow says. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. Videos are put out every Wednesday and Sunday, and there's a cooking video that comes out on Sunday. Thanks for viewing. Be kind to someone today. Stay safe, and I will see you tomorrow.